Look at this! It's a shrine. Even I know that's Nekton's symbol. Sephi excitedly spoke up, as she wiped the gunk off the markings and effigies along the back wall, where the main body of the creature was. Well, that's Chio's dark presence, all right. Nika joined them at a limp, having finally popped her arm back into place, waiting for Allura to finish up helping herself and Chio, before she let the Eladri see to her leg. Holy shit. This must have been a spawn of Nekton. They drew on his divine power and should have been rendered extinct when the god died. You are right. Chio steadily floated towards them. The spawn would slowly starve to death when cut off from Nekton's power. However, they can hibernate to conserve it for as long as they can, until called back to action. Didn't look like it was hibernating, Chio, Allura warned. Yeah, Sephi agreed. It was totally waiting for us. If it hadn't been for Jack, it would have killed us. No way I could have survived that on my own, Jack immediately answered. It was very much a team effort. Besides, it was your kill, Sephi. Ha! All I did was fix the matrix connections and turn the power on. The scritter waved a hand to dismiss the praise. None of us could have done what you did, Chio smiled. Well done, Sephi. As much as I want to praise everyone and get out of here, Nika spoke up. We need to catch our breath, heal up, then find somewhere that doesn't smell like shit to camp for the night. Agreed, Allura sighed. The turning really drained me, but we would have been swarmed if I hadn't done it. I'll fix your leg while the rest can have a look around. You know I hate to say it, Sephi started, but I don't think there'd be anything worth looting here. That's why I hate monsters. They have no concept of material wealth. Didn't Sister Jirtis say that the Church of Syros offers a bounty for Nekton-related artifacts and information? Jack asked Allura, the only person that shared the religious studies class in question with him. Yep, Allura allowed. Take photos and a sample of the spawn. Get as much information as we can too. As much as I'd like to destroy the shrine, it's best if we leave it intact for them to study and pay us. Unless you think it's still a threat, Chio. It isn't. Though the original ritual binding the creature was extraordinarily powerful, anything left is residual and will likely vanish over time, as there is nothing to influence. Good, Allura nodded, as she worked on Nika's leg. We should probably let High Priestess Cornelia know about it as well. No way is she going to trust Cyrus's clergy with this, and she's going to be so pissed that a spawn of Nekton was down here less than a day away from them. The Temple of Hope will probably want to start an official investigation, and find out how it came to be here. Then let's hurry up and do what we need to do. It smells like fried ass in here, Sephi sighed, clearly exhausted. It's been a long day and we really need to rest. Yeah, Jack agreed, before the others could disagree. He was glad Sephi had been the one to suggest it, as the only one of his friends not to be seriously hurt during the fight. Nika was still moving awkwardly. Allura clearly needed to sleep off her arcane feedback, and Shira had been hit quite badly by the spawn. After scouring the maintenance room for anything else, with Sephi scanning an old station map on the wall, the group set out exploring the rest of the station for a safe place to rest for the night, but the smell of the various deceased spider creatures that died with the spawn put them off. Well, that's the staff break room out, Sephi sighed, looking around. Do you think the vending machines will still have snacks in them? Centuries old, maybe, Nika grinned. We're not exactly needing to ration right now, but if you want to chow down on ancient candy, be my guest. Good point, Sephi replied embarrassingly. There might be some spare change in them, though, Jack replied with a thought. There's no guarantee the currency would be valid today, Allura warned, even as Sephi was quickly jimmying the machine open. But the fact remains we need to find a good place to rest, and I'd rather not be kept up by the horrible smell. I might have something, Chio finally interjected, looking at what looked like a staff announcement board. Sephi's going to love this if it pans out. Jack walked over to where the Alethi was looking, and raised his eyebrows at the announcement. Train docked for maintenance. Requires battery recharge. Worth a look, Nika argued. Structurally, this place is sound compared to where we came in, and the dock for out-of-service trains will probably be on the outskirts of the station. Out of sight of the customers, Allura agreed. Sephi? You're right, Sephi confirmed, looking at the map. Near where we came in, I remember it. Door was closed though, and I doubt I can slice my way in. That's unfortunate, Allura sighed. But, Sephi grinned, there's always a manual override with these things. We can probably find a way in. Staff door, bend hatch, whatever. Probably worth a look, Jack agreed. Besides, I dropped my rifle around there during the fight. I kinda want it back. It didn't take too long to find Jack's plasma rifle now that everyone was looking, and there wasn't anything trying to kill them. Looks like this thing took a hit, Nika called out, picking the rifle off the ground and examining it. A few parts jumbled around. Should be able to fix it, though it might need a little work. Thanks, Nika, Jack sighed in relief, as they followed Seffi to where train maintenance was. "So, the bad news," Seffi started, as they all met up with her. "I can't see a way we can get the gate open, and there isn't a staff entrance that I could find." "But," Jack prompted, knowing Seffi well enough now to know where this was going. "See that vent up there?" she grinned. Jack could. It was quite high, probably higher than he could jump. What was she thinking? "You want Tshirt to lift me up there as I'm the shortest, right?" Nika rolled her eyes with a groan, as Tshirt looked a little worried. "No way, you two are hurt," Seffi replied quickly, perfectly serious. "I think I can get up there if Jack launches me, and I use my wings to stabilize." "If it's a manual crank, would you be alright shifting it on your own?" Jack asked. "If it's been like this for hundreds or thousands of years, it's probably rusted." Seffi gave Jack a playful look of outrage at his questioning her strength before grinning. "They build them to last here, since it doubles as a shelter during wartime. It should be alright, but I'll use a rope to get back up to the vent just in case." "Alright," Jack conceded. "So you want me to launch you in the air as high as I can?" "Just don't put me through the ceiling," Seffi grinned, licking her lips as she began climbing up onto Jack, stepping onto his palms and taking some liberties with her handholds on his hair. Jack, for his part, tried to keep it together, as his face ended up very close to the buttons of the Skritter's shorts. "Ready?" Jack asked. "Sure we can't stay in this pose for a little longer?" Seffi joked. "Maybe later," Jack awkwardly laughed. 3, 2, 1, go! Straining both their legs as Jack launched her high, Seffi was flung high into the air, letting out a woo as she started to drop down and extend her wings to glide over to the vent, grabbing onto the lid, and began pulling herself in before stopping. "What's up?" Jack asked, worried. "Oh no!" Seffi yelled out. "I'm stuck! Help me out, stepbrother!" she joked, wiggling her ass at them. "By the gods, Seffi!" Allura facepalmed, though Jack could see her hiding her smile as Nika cackled, but even Chio gave a little giggle. "Get in there, you utter degenerate," Chio retorted, giving Seffi a prod of encouragement, the Skritter giving a little eep as she quickly scrambled the rest of the way in. "I can't believe you actually said that with Jack around." It took a few minutes, with Jack starting to get worried before finally they saw the gate slowly start to open as Seffi put all her strength into turning a crank by the door, before Jack slipped in the gap and helped open the gate all the way. "Well, the good news is that the train seems to be functional. The spawn hasn't fucked with the area and it doesn't smell like ass," Seffi began. "And the bad?" Allura asked. "Out of juice. It's been charging since we got the power back on, but it'll be a few hours at least before we're moving." "That's absolutely fine. Guess we'll be resting here. I'll need to meditate for a bit before I can continue healing." Allura sighed in relief as she climbed aboard the train to sit down. The group had mostly spent their time resting since gaining access to the train, with Seffi occasionally keeping an eye on the charging engine, as the rest of the group unpacked their stuff in the spacious back of the carriage, with comfortable first-class accommodations. The seats were comfortable, and even big enough to lie down on, but quite dusty, and the space in the centre was vast enough to allow for Allura to conjure a heat source that she used to warm them all up, while having Seffi's drone on Overwatch, outside, along with a few well-placed proximity devices. They had finished eating some of the MREs they had taken with them, which Jack found delicious. Nika had gotten them all the same meaty stew with gravy, and a bread made of many different grounded seeds that reminded Jack of a lumpy mashed potato, which came with several packets of gooey spreads of varying different colours. For dessert, there were flat cookies of an unusually soggy consistency, backed by many hard-boiled sweets and several artificially sweetened drink powders that Chio seemed to be very fond of. Now the group was just sitting down, relaxing and planning their next move, while Allura did some more healing. "I think Seffi raised a good point earlier," Nika spoke up, wincing as Allura's magic coursed throughout her leg. "That thing was fully active when we got here." "Hibernating creatures do need to wake up once in a while," Chio rationalized. "But the tracks we found, and the fact that Seffi thinks someone tampered with the system to lock us in, leaves no doubt in my mind that someone woke it up." "The third bounty hunter that declared was a Nekton priest or initiate," Jack rationalized, after Seffi translated Chio's theory to him. "It's got to be him, right?" Allura thought out loud. "It could be, but I'm not completely convinced." "How so?" Jack asked. "You've seen the bounty hunters so far, right?" Allura asked in deep thought. "They've been complete pushovers, and we've had nothing to suggest that Dubaka would be any different." "Yeah?" Jack prompted, realizing the point Allura was trying to make. "So why is what we're facing so competent?" Allura asked, looking to the others. "That's a good point," Seffi admitted, bringing up her comlink. I ran a data scrape program when we were in Gladespring on Debaku. He lives on the streets as a beggar, foretelling doom and destruction in hour-long rants that get mocked on NetTube and MyFace, and as of about 6 months ago claims to receive visions from Nekdon that compel him to do random things, most of them bad. Like publicly announcing his intention to chase the bounty on me? Jack concluded, jokingly. Yeah, he sounds kinda nuts. Are you guys sure Nekdon's dead? Maybe he's just been on holiday and has only just come back to give orders to some nutjob to come after me. Many other gods have confirmed his death or disappearance, Allura argued, and Nekdon's clergy have nearly all been decimated since then. As gods require worship to exist and bestow powers, there's just no way. Besides, what have you even done to deserve the wrath of a god? As you say, Jack reluctantly nodded, but he clearly left something behind. A former Nekdon priest could have awoken the spawn with the proper rites, Chia reasoned, and their penchant for necromancy could bind Risen to their will. But I agree with Allura. Dubaku couldn't have been the one to lock us in or know we would even come this way. Yeah, there was that stuff Krill called us about earlier before Zal had attacked us, Nika agreed. Someone told a bunch of people where we were heading, despite us being careful, and even sent them photos. There's definitely a co-slicer at work here, maybe the same one that locked us in. It would not surprise me if they had diviners magically aiding them somehow, Gio added, since they were impossibly quick. Might be the Malkars helping them, Allura wondered, but I definitely think we're missing something here. Well, as far as the other slicer is concerned, Sevi added, looking a little smug, the power surge here will have scrambled the system and forced a factory reset, which will likely take a few weeks to complete. While that means I'm not going to be able to access key systems on the network, it means the other slicer can't either, and whatever trick they pulled to trap us in is gone. We could technically head back and jimmy the door open now it's not mag-locked. I'm sensing a but here, Allura said, eyebrows raised. But we've come this far, Sevi grinned, and we're so close. We can finally learn why Jack came to be here. We've risked far too much already, Jack warned. There's no shame in heading back after all the shit we've been through. I can't ask you to carry on. It's a group decision, Nika grinned as she chewed on some jerky, and I think Sefi's right. Might as well go all the way now that we're here. I am very curious about Jack's situation as well, and I've been looking forward to meeting this oracle for quite some time, Chio added. And I want to find whoever trapped us here, wipe the floor with them and get some answers. Allura slowly nodded in agreement at Chio's last point. If we don't deal with our enemies now, they may come back to bite us later. Their trap failed, so now we need to press our advantage. So, it sounds like we're pushing forward, Nika nodded in determination. We know we've got hostiles ahead, so get as much rest as you can. Once the engine's fully charged, we start driving, and if Chio's calculations are correct, we should make it to where we need to be by early morning. We should have plenty of time to see the oracle and get back home before tomorrow night. We don't know what lies ahead, Allura cautioned, so we'll need to sleep or meditate in shifts and set a guard up, especially while we're moving. I'll do it, Jack immediately volunteered, aware that despite the healing from Allura, some of them needed to sleep off the pain. I can probably get away with pulling an all-nighter, to be honest, especially with some caffeine if we have that with us. Caffeine? You use that? Nika exclaimed, seemingly impressed. We do have things that'll keep you up for a bit, but I think it'd be better if you guard while we're on the move, since we have better detection here. I'll keep watch until the train's ready to move, Allura decided. That and our countermeasures should be enough. Try to get as much rest as you can before we need to go, and once we're charged, I'll wake everyone up so we can get moving as soon as we can. Understood, Nika reluctantly replied, clearly wanted to take first watch herself. But once we start moving, you sleep all the way to the end, or at least until we need you. That fight took a lot out of you, and we need your magic recovered. Yeah, Sefi agreed. I'm going to be the one to drive this pile of junk, and I kind of need to be awake for that. Unless Chia wants to go? Only if you need a break, Chia smiled at her friend. I can stay on Overwatch with Jack and Nika as well, though I would like to spend some time centering myself and refreshing my psionics. I fear I may have a concussion I need to fix. Sounds good, Allura agreed. I'll wake you when it's time. Jack went into the carriage with the others, brushing his teeth and unfurling the micro-thin sleeping bag Nika had gotten for him. The days and nights on High Station Bastila were vastly different from those on Earth, so he still felt wide awake, while Nika and Sefi looked rather tired and ready to go to sleep, wrapped themselves up in comfortable-looking blankets. Jack wrapped himself up as well, and was just about to try closing his eyes and fruitlessly counting sheep, before he felt a gentle tugging on his arm. What's up, Gio? He asked the Alethi, now sitting down next to him. I would like to merge with you now, please, she politely added, looking at Jack pointedly with her wide eyes. Now? Like we did a few days ago before school? Yes, please. It seems you cannot sleep either, and this will help both of us. Sure, Jack nervously replied. As long as we can react to danger in time, I don't see why not. But you're going to have to walk me through it again. Relax yourself as much as you can and open your mind, Tshirt explained. Jack immediately obeyed, and felt Tshirt slide up beside him. He reflexively put an arm around her as he felt a strange sensation gently probe his mind. The sensation of a perception shift was less surprising than before, as the dark haziness of his closed eyes gave way to detail. A sofa appeared behind him the moment he thought to sit down, and from there a living room materialized, some parts from the one back of the house, and other parts from Jack's home on Earth. I want to properly talk to you. Tshirt suddenly materialized right next to him on the sofa, looking a little frantic. Are you okay? Jack looked at her worried. No! Tshirt was visibly exasperated. That room with the spawn isn't something I can just purge from my mind. You have no idea what horrors I saw in his aura, and then I saw it try to swallow you whole and I thought it killed you. Jack nodded, remembering Tshirt's cry, which echoed in their shared mindscape. Yeah, Jack nodded. His teeth shredded my hands a bit. I knew it would be easy enough for Allura to stop the bleeding, but I also knew that if I didn't fight with everything I had, it was going to get the rest of you next. I didn't know how long Sephi would be, and everyone else was out of the fight. I couldn't let that happen. That doesn't usually happen with our group, Tshirt cautioned. A spawn of Nekton is one of his most powerful servants. We have never, ever faced something like that before. Well, it's okay now. Jack comforted the Alethi with a reassuring hug. We won. They stayed like that for a little while longer in silence, before Jack remembered something. So when were you planning on telling me you had a lightsaber? Jack joked. Tshirt giggled. The others mentioned it to me, but I honestly had no idea what you meant. It's an Alethi side-blade my parents gifted me for my Ithkal, my birthday when I became a teenager. It's quite useful as a last resort, but I'm afraid they only attune to advanced psionic users. I'm curious what a lightsaber is, though. It was from a movie, right? Immediately, before Jack tried to explain it, a scene from his childhood popped up in the ether across from them. A flash of neon red and purple, as two opponents dueled one another. You know, Tshirt began with a cheeky smile, you probably have the entire movie recorded in your subconscious. We could watch and put the bad stuff behind us. Sure, replied Jack with a grin. And it's more than one movie. They spent the rest of their merge watching the Star Wars films as Jack remembered them, having more than enough of the slowed-down mindscape time they needed to see most of them. He was a little fuzzy with his memories of the original trilogy, but Tshirt was smart enough to follow along. The prequels he recalled fondly with more clarity, and the lightsaber fights were truly epic, but fortunately Tshirt decided enough was enough when the shitty sequel trilogy came around. She wanted to make sure both of them were refreshed, and knew they didn't have much time left, and so with the promise of more films another time, and an in-depth talk about Star Wars when they next had the time, Jack opened his eyes. Jack woke up feeling a lot more refreshed than before. Worrying slightly, he got up ready for trouble, but to his relief found Allura still patiently keeping watch. I was just about to start waking you all, she yawned, as he quietly moved over to her. Morning, Jack spoke in reply. Or is it still evening? Still late evening. It's only been a few hours. Like I said, we're making good time, so don't worry. We'll probably be at the Oracle before the day cycle hits, so we may have to wait around until they're awake. Allura paused for a moment as she looked at him. How are you holding up after... you know? I was going to ask you the same thing, Jack joked, before quickly getting serious. You constantly told me back at the temple that things would feel a little crazy for me, but that feels like the understatement of the century. That thing, it almost killed all of us. All because of me. No, Allura replied sternly. Don't do that thing you do where you take on the full burden of responsibility. All of us chose to be here, and none of us could have possibly predicted that something that powerful could be this close to a populated area. I understand where you're coming from, Jack started, but I could never forgive myself if anything happened to you or the others. Is it really this bad all the time? Plenty of things have happened already, Allura smiled in understanding. Sure, a few of us got knocked down from time to time, but we got up again. Even before you came here, we took risks and collected rewards. That's a life we all chose. We know the cost, but we wouldn't have it any other way. Besides, she gave a small chuckle, it's the best way to pay the bills while we have to go to school. All right, Jack nodded, not necessarily agreeing, but acknowledging that there wasn't any stopping them. He'd remembered how he was the one to take charge when shit hit the fan. He decided to change the topic. So what's the plan for getting to the station we need to get to? We'll maneuver the train into position first and get the points on the track aligned. After that, we'll go at a steady speed where we won't crash into anything and can react to anything ahead, but we can also get there in much better time. Still several hours, though. It's not perfect, but at least we're not trudging all the way to the Oracle. Do you want a drink? Alora handed Jack a travel mug of warm liquid before she went to rouse the others. The beverage tasted strange, but had elements of hot chocolate and coffee in it that were familiar to him and helped him fully wake up. He'd definitely have to get the recipe from her. It was delicious. All right. Nika stretched and gratefully took her mug from Alora. Thanks, Alora. Very nice. Once we finish our drinks, Jack, Chew and I will walk ahead and dislodge anything that could block the train and set the points so we go down the tunnel we want. After that, we stay on overwatch while Sephi drives. Once we get going, maybe we can take a few power naps if it's quiet enough. Jack nodded with the others, as they then got to work. It didn't take long to move things aside, not that there was much to move. While it was clear that the spawn had done a little structural damage, most of what was blocking the tracks were just old bins and benches, which took them no time at all to fix, as the unusually quiet train slowly glided behind them. Changing the points was a little more difficult, but eventually Cheer was able to find the manual override from the non-functional electrical system, a dark lever further away that Jack quickly pulled to lock them onto the right track. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We're ready to go, Sephi grinned. Guards, if you would kindly take up positions and keep your arms and legs inside the ride, we will now be departing. Wait a moment, Jack whispered cautiously. I think I heard something. Where? Alora asked, pointing out one to where Jack was looking, down the tunnel, as Nika scrambled up on top of the train to get a better sight. Ready to get us out of here? Sephi called out nervously. It's further down that way, Jack whispered. Doesn't sound like anything big, but sounds like something is running towards us. Damn it, Alora cursed. Gio, what can you... She stopped, and everyone who could turned to look at the Ilithi. Chio had crossed her arms and wasn't doing anything except raise her eyebrows as high as they would go, and looking decidedly unamused. The reason announced itself 5 seconds later. Woof! The dog they had met twice previously was panting heavily, clearly tired from having run from wherever it came from. His twin tails were wagging like crazy on having found the group again, as it went and sat on the ground a few meters from them, and stared up at them with excited eyes. No fucking way. Nika did her best to try not to laugh at the absurdity of this situation, but ended up failing miserably, with Sephi and Jack eventually joining in. This is getting pretty ridiculous, you know, Alora playfully told the dog. Woof! I'm glad you agree, Alora continued playing along. This is a bad place, you shouldn't be here. The dog let out a slight whine at that. I gave a strong suggestion for that beast to not follow us, Chio grumbled. How did it even get down here if we were trapped? Possibly a vent or a small breach somewhere, though you could always read its mind, Nika suggested with barely suppressed laughter. I'd rather not. Animals normally recall nothing else but eating, drinking and defecating. Why are you following us, boy? Jack asked the dog as he moved forward to scratch it behind the ears. The dog laughed it and rubbed its face in Jack's chest. What can we do? He asked the others. It isn't safe for it here, though it might be able to get out the way it came. The dog whined slightly at that suggestion, looking to Alora with bright, hopeful eyes. I would be more happy if this creature lived as it should, free among nature, Alora cautiously started. But it clearly wants to stay with us, and like you said, Jack, it isn't safe for it here. But the safest possible place for it here is with us. Woof! The dog barked excitedly, wagging its tails even harder. What do we think? Alora asked the others. I can completely understand if you don't want to, but should we... Yep, Nika immediately answered, along with both Jack and Sephi with their own confirmations. All right, Alora grinned. Chio? But it's dirty and slobbery, and it's looking right at me now. Maybe... Oh, all right then. But it better behave itself. Woof! The dog excitedly barked again, which surprised Chio. Did it know what she just said? Surely not. Well, Alora dramatically announced, looking at the dog. Welcome aboard.